Let's say that you make it into a competitive baking show. You gather high quality ingredients and study complex recipes to prepare your cake for the big day. But as soon as the competition starts, you start panicking. You scramble to recall correct measurements and baking times. You mix and match ingredients with no precision, tossing in a dash of this and a handful of that. And the end result? A sunken, lopsided cake that tastes nothing like you envisioned. Despite your careful preparation, you let the heat of the competition get to you, which led to disappointing results. It's the same when the exam sheet lands on your desk. You've reviewed the material for days and prepped plenty of raw ingredients for success, but when the clock starts ticking, your mind just goes blank. Exact formulas, precise definitions, key theories, all jumbled in your anxiety-addled brain. You resort to guessing and writing disjointed fragments just to fill in the page, hoping something will stick. But despite gathering the building blocks for a high mark, flying blind in the exam conditions leaves you with a poor result. We've all been there. Your mind goes blank just when you need to recall everything you studied. You lose track of time and you can't pace yourself. And the information just feels so out of reach, no matter how hard you try to grasp it. Before you know it, time's up and that sinking feeling kicks in. You walk out demoralized, knowing that your potential far exceeds what those grades will show. The truth is, most students struggle to translate their knowledge into exam performance when the pressure is on. And despite working so hard, they lack the tools to demonstrate their full capabilities on test day. If you're new to this channel, my name is Tanzir and I'm one of the learning coaches at I Can Study. I help thousands of students around the world improve their study techniques. So why do so many students struggle with exam pressure? What causes that feeling of being overwhelmed and drawing a blank under exam pressure? The problem stems from not having a strategic recipe to apply your knowledge. It's like baking a cake without instructions. 3 issues arise. First, without time management tactics, minutes slip away to the "I'm not gonna finish" panic. Second, you have no way to refocus when stress or distractions throw you off. Your mind keeps spiraling instead of resetting. And third, poor sleep habits leave you too mentally exhausted to power through the exam. The result is a perfect storm of mental blocks, stress, and doubt. Your mind fails you when you need it the most. So what should you be doing instead? Well, let me share the step-by-step recipe to be at your very best for any exam. It's actually pretty straightforward and can be broken down into 4 steps. Step 1, keep it simple before the exam. Step 2, develop a bulletproof in-exam game plan. Step 3, scrutinize your answers in the exam. And step 4, prepare for the unexpected. The first thing you need to do, which so many people get wrong, is to keep it simple. Do less immediately before the exam. And it's quite anticlimactic, really, to say this, because it isn't some new snazzy technique you can use, but let me explain. Imagine it's the day of your exam. You might feel tempted to cram in some last-minute studying or even hit the gym for a heavy workout to release some of that stress. But here's the key. Resist that urge. Hours or even minutes before your exam, it's crucial to keep things light. And this isn't time for deep, intensive learning or physically draining activities. Instead, think of less intense activities. Take a casual glance at your notes. Familiarize yourself with the main concepts again, but don't dive deep and stress yourself out. You're not trying to learn everything afresh. It's more about refreshing your memory. And the goal here is to keep focused. You've already done all the hard work in your study sessions. Essentially, you want to save your mental battery and your physical energy for the exam. By doing intensive studying or workouts before your exam, you're reducing your ability to perform in the exam because your cognitive resources are depleted and your focus is affected. The next step is to develop an in-exam game plan for, in the exam. The way that you approach questions in the exam shouldn't be complicated. Let's say that you're thinking about the order in which you should tackle the questions. Should you start from the back of the paper first? Should you attempt the harder questions first? Generally, for most exams, the first few questions tend to be cognitively less demanding. Think short answer questions or simple multiple choice questions, which test your ability to recall facts or just understand single concepts in themselves. These simple questions are actually designed to get you into a rhythm first, before the challenging questions at the back. Once you've tackled the easier questions and have warmed up, it can become much easier to tackle the more sophisticated and multi-relational questions. So I definitely recommend you to start off with the simpler questions first, if you can. And for the third step, you need to scrutinize your answers. When you're checking your work during the exam, you should adopt a doubtful and skeptical mindset. Listen to what Adam Grant, author of Think Again, has to say on this. So Grant suggests in his book that most of us are unaware of our own biases. We think that whatever we've written is correct simply because, well, we wrote it. And in order for you to break out of this mindset, you need to check your work, almost as if you know your work is wrong and you're looking for a mistake. This almost borderline fearful mindset helps you be extra careful and avoid those careless mistakes. Don't fall into the first instinct fallacy, which basically means that you have a tendency to believe that your first answer is the correct one. And I'm sure you probably experienced this feeling before. When you finish your exam paper, put your pen down and you think, I don't need to check my work. It's probably right the first time. I can't tell you how wrong this is and how many times students can squeeze out so many more marks just by checking their work. Remember, you need to scrutinize your own work like an author constantly reviewing their novel. And now we're at the last step. Prepare for the unexpected. Look, the unexpected will happen. Just like how a pro athlete prepares for a variety of outcomes, you should too. Imagine this. You're in the exam hall, focused on your paper. But lo and behold, you realize that the student next to you is a furious pen clicker. You know, the ones that click their pens non-stop with such intensity as if they have some form of deep hatred for their writing instrument? Yeah, we all hate that guy. But even if the people around you are distracting or the footsteps of the supervisor are too loud, you shouldn't panic and let your thoughts run wild. Or imagine you're on the most important question in the exam, and after reading it 3 times, it still doesn't make sense. And instead of letting your heart race and your focus just shatter, here's what you want to do instead. Develop a physical cue as a mental reset. For example, you could lightly tap on your chest and then take a deep calming breath. And what you're actually doing here is you're teaching your brain how to focus better. Breathing deeply is a great example of this. Breathing deeply helps get a response from our parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. When you breathe deeply, you activate the vagus nerve, which tells the brain to send calming signals to the rest of your body. So when you learn how to control your breath, you're able to force your body to calm down. This simple action signals to your brain that it's time to refocus. It's like hitting the reset button on your attention. Remember, it's all about regaining control over your focus. These small actions can make a big difference in helping you stay calm and collected, no matter what happens. Before we wrap up, I want to make sure that the key points sink in. So let's do a quick recap. First, preparation. Avoid last-minute cramming and intense exercise before the exam. Focus on a light review only so that you're in a better position to relax your mind. Second, execution. Have a plan, but don't obsess over the details. Usually, starting with the easier questions first can be more strategic. Third, scrutinize your answers to make sure you're not falling trapped to the first instinct fallacy. And fourth, adaptability. If distractions come, stay cool with mental resets like deep breaths. Now, you may be wondering, how do I put this to action? Where do I start? Download our PDF checklist of these steps and try these strategies out in your next practice test. See how it feels and get comfortable with it before exam day. Small steps like these will set you up for success. I hope these tips give you the confidence boost you need to ace your next exams. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned to learn more study tips like these.